Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Gloucester School Committee's Building and Finance Subcommittee. Today is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. The time is 5:07 p.m. We are meeting here in person at the Gloucester High School Library located at 32 Leslie O. Johnson Road in Gloucester, Mass. These meetings are recorded. Effective August 16, 2023, the public is welcome to attend our meetings in person. Alternatively, the public may attend through the Zoom link listed on the agenda. Meeting notice will reflect if the meeting is a Zoom only. As the recent amendments to the open meeting law allows, the subcommittee may continue to hold meetings remotely. Please note that the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. We will start with introductions, and I'm going to start on this side of the table. Start with Cody.
Cody Marshall, Finance Director.
Gary Frisch, Chief Financial Officer.
Amy Pascal, Assistant Superintendent. Welcome. Thank you.
And Lomas, Superintendent. Dr. Michael Jarvis, Director of Special Education Services.
Thank you. Melissa Prince, School Committee. Kathy Clancy, School Committee.
William Melvin, School Committee.
Stephanie DeLisi, Recording Secretary.
Thank you all very much. We are going to take our agenda out of order a bit and start with our report, deliberations and discussions. Section B, electric buses.
Okay, thank you.
Can you share?
I can.
There it goes.
Okay, the city and the school department are recommending not to proceed with the procurement of electric buses. Cost to move to electric buses would require one-time cost of $570,000 plus an increase of $42,000 each year for annual operating costs. The city has agreed to purchase the preschool, so adding another $570,000 to the debt obligations is not prudent at this time. We have learned valuable information in an exhaustive procurement study, and we want to keep the door open for potential future opportunities to purchase environmentally friendly transportation. Next slide, please. Here's a chart just showing the cost of the buses, the grants, and then the net cost. We have 3 columns here, the description, per bus, that's for one bus, the cost, and then 6 buses on the far right-hand column. So we see that the electric buses are very costly. They're $2,160,000 for 6 buses. Now, after all the grants and additional cost of infrastructure and charging stations and subtracting the grants, we still end up with $570,000, which is still very costly. On a per bus basis, this amounted to $95,000 per bus. Now, it's interesting to note that diesel buses are about $120,000. So even though the cost after grants it's still very comparable to a diesel bus. So let's look at the next. Let's look at the operating cost for the electric buses. We see that the electricity cost for the year is $57,000. The diesel fuel is $20,000 for the 6 buses, and the service contract would be $9,000. That would be to operate the electric buses, make sure the buses are fully charged and ready to go. That cost is $9,000. So when you subtract the current cost versus the new cost, you end up with an additional $42,000. So those two costs, both the annual cost and the upfront 570,000, we deemed it to be not advantageous at this time. So our recommendation, and which is in line with the city, is not to proceed any further. Any questions?
So is this recommendation from the city and us just based on budget, or does it take into the concerns of operating electrical buses, cold weather, charging stations, not having enough charging capacity along the way while they go on long trips? Has that
Right.
been part of the conversation, or is this just from a cost perspective?
Wanted to get to it to understand the costs.
Okay,
And if the costs were comparable,
then move forward.
then we would
With
consider all the other
Okay.
aspects.
Okay.
But because we can't even cross the first hurdle of are they comparable, then while we have considered some of those things, not to the depth that we would have, if
Okay,
money was different.
so it's not like we wanted the buses and this is saying no, this was just the first hurdle of.
Yeah, what we
Okay.
said from the beginning is we're gonna investigate this, and obviously what prompted it was the city, pursued with Highland Electric some grants. And was successful getting those, but we knew at that point that wasn't a decision. That was to begin the process of looking into whether we could do it. And we realized that even, just with the dollars and cents, it's not proven at this point. And then obviously there are a lot of other questions that you would raise.
Any other questions? No, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I recommend that we go back to the first agenda item.
Okay, so GTA tuition reimbursement benefit. Thanks, Stefan.
It's you.
Me?
Amy,
Okay, hello.
Amy?
Thank you for giving me a minute. I was just going from one committee to this. So GTA tuition reimbursement, we have in the contract that teachers are entitled to get reimbursed up to the cost of it's Salem State, excuse me, for the course. They can get reimbursed for the first course, and then if there is money left in the $50,000 that is allotted to it, then they can get a prorated version. It's divided by how many people are applying for a second course to be reimbursed. There is $50,000 according to the contract in that, and then an additional 10 that is specific for special education classes and multilingual learner classes. So this is the contract language. There you want me to read it. Okay, who's in control?
Please don't.
Thank you. I just wasn't advancing slides. So our current procedure is when a teacher wants to take a course, it has to be approved through my office. They put a course approval form in through Frontline. And if it meets the criteria that a committee has set, we have a graduate course approval committee. We have a rubric that's available on the website for teachers to look at and see if it would most likely be approved or not. We also have a list of courses or universities really that are automatic, Salem State automatic, all state colleges, those kind of things. But then there's those one-off ones that we use the rubric for that we maybe haven't reviewed. When we get really tricky courses that we're not quite sure if they fit, oftentimes I'll bring them to the committee. So I'm not doing it in isolation, deciding if it's approved or not. And so then once the course is approved, the teacher goes off and takes the course. At the end of that course, they need to present 3 things. One is a transcript showing that they received a grade of B or higher. 2, they need to have a receipt that the course was paid for. And 3, and this tends to be the trickiest part, is proof of payment. The proof of payment is a canceled check. It could be a credit card statement that says that that bill was paid. But all 3 pieces need to be presented in order to get reimbursed. That's for any reimbursement through the city. If somebody travels and does mileage that way, we need all 3 pieces, not necessarily the transfer for travel, but we need proof of payment and the receipt to be paid. If you notice, there's a nice infographic there on the left. I credit Becky Mastandria for putting that together to help make it a little clearer that they need a college transcript, a credit card payment, proof of payment and the receipt, all three things. You can go to the next
But just
slide.
before you go, so just to reiterate, that those pieces, not the transcript, but the payment, both those, number one and two are city rules that we have to abide by. They apply to any sort of reimbursement, as Amy already said.
Yeah, and I recognize a credit card, sometimes people are uncomfortable sharing their statement. They are welcome to redact any other purchases. They please redact the credit card number, redact all of that, but we do need to know their name and that particular line item was paid for.
Just want to ask you a question, it's gonna wait till the end in case I
That's
think
okay.
of a different question and not ask this question. So you keep saying the city, right? So this is school budget, but the city has a policy of how we reimburse, is that what you're saying?
It's the auditor's office.
It's the auditor's office that gives a policy on how to reimburse, but they're not making the decision to reimburse, correct?
No, and I don't know if it's a policy, it's their requirements.
Their
to- yeah.
requirements, yeah. to meet all the
Documentation required.
standards, yeah.
So it's what's the requirements that need to be documented in order to be reimbursed.
But the city is not involved in the decision or paying out, only making sure that that policy of having these.
Right. So my office is in
Required.
charge of approving a course, if it's approved. Once it's approved, the requirements for reimbursement are set by the auditor's office.
Okay,
What we do know though, and therefore we either do this preemptively or the auditor's office has done this, is they will, if we don't give the proper documentation for each requested reimbursement, they'll reject it.
how do they
And-
reject our money?
They'll kick it back to you? No, kickback saying the evidence, the proof of payment is not sufficient or is not appropriate or is inaccurate.
Okay.
That sort of thing. So that's, I mean,
Okay.
they don't, again, it's all, and so that has happened, it does happen. And so,
Okay.
in some cases, we anticipate that because obviously, our staff now, I mean, it's Amy and Brittany Holmes, they know what to look for, what we're looking for. And may, communicate with our staff saying this isn't sufficient or this isn't the right document sort of thing. So, so that's how the auditor's office will correct the payment documents, not whether the courses are covered.
And they go in as a bundle, for a reason. As I said, the first course is paid for everyone. For teachers that submit a second or sometimes even a third course. So we had 51 teachers submit for reimbursement this year. Is it on the next slide?
It's
Sorry,
fine.
I went ahead with that, okay.
You're okay.
Oh, I was given my own example.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's okay.
You put them together.
Okay, so, once that all of the courses, all of materials are in, we submit. So if 30 people took a course.
Yep.
And it used up, say, $40,000 in this example. And then 20 of those people took a second course. For a total of $25,000. That's over our $60,000 window, so we cannot pay all of that money back. So all 30 teachers would get the first course entirely reimbursed up to the standard rate. And then there would be a balance of $10,000. And that would be prorated to be divided by the number of people that took the second course, in this example, 20. And each teacher would receive about a $500 reimbursement for the second course. So if we don't submit it all at once, we don't know how to divide the remaining money.
The remaining money, but what about the first pot of money? So you have
So it's
the
all one pot,
50,000,
right?
right? Is it as people take the class and submit the documentation, they get reimbursed? Or do you wait to a certain date and then review everything that's been
The
submitted?
date is key, and that's gonna be one of our recommendations then.
But have we been doing it that way until whatever's coming towards us tonight? I'm trying to understand the complaint that we got
Yes,
and knowing that I'm very well aware of this policy and
Yes.
discussed it for many years, but trying to figure out what happened. Is this a specific incident or is this a systematic issue that we
this
need
is
to
a
address?
challenge each year, to make sure that all the documentation is in appropriately. The piece of documentation that is most, I don't know, asked for or problem is that proof of payment, right? And sometimes people will send the receipt a second time and said, I already have sent this, and we explain that's not what we're looking for. Brittany does a good job of doing that. And so that's the hardest part to get from people, for whatever reason. And, you know, giving some leeway this year, we're probably, you know, we are definitely behind on really pushing. We've had a longer year than normal and, but
So what?
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, there were 30 outstanding.
oh,
Yeah, why don't you share this?
yeah, so 2 weeks ago when someone went to the school committee, I checked, there were 30 teachers who still did not have all the proper documentation.
And it's because the proper documentation was not submitted.
Right,
That was.
and so we were waiting to get, and it's unfortunate, because there are several teachers, there was probably 20+ teachers that had all the documentation in for quite a while.
And those.
And
30
they're,
are old enough
and
to
they're
try.
waiting for the proper documentation from the other 30.
Okay,
As of yesterday, we had 15 teachers that we got it in half, 15 teachers that did not have all of the appropriate documentation, and just probably as about 2 o'clock this afternoon, because some people are getting in overnight, Brittany's reaching out to these teachers repeatedly. We're down to about 9 or 10 that still do not have the documentation complete. They have documentation in, but they're missing one of the 3 pieces.
so 9 or 10 are now holding up everybody.
Yes.
So I do want to say, like we really
Just
get,
trying to
and
understand.
then no one gets us more, understands more than bringing it in, and this is really frustrating, almost like 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're gonna have a pretty straightforward proposal in a moment to share with you some ideas and then to really talk through the challenge. So first of all, like totally get it, people are frustrated by this, you know, it's later than it ever has been, like, get it, okay? Probably can do some better work on communication. We definitely want to work with the GTA and Amy already discussed this with the GTA president about creating a little timeline on it and deadline on it. Because this isn't satisfactory to anybody, you know? So, but really want to work on it and really want to support people in getting and being clear what documentation is needed. And, you know, when they don't get it, help them get it in, so. But we can go to the next slide, I think, right?
So the underlying causes of delays for this year is the reimbursement amounts to, I kind of went ahead with this. They depend on the total number of reimbursements, so we're holding for that, or we were holding for that. The city requires the schools to submit the entire batch at once. And we currently do not have a deadline for submission.
So can I ask this question? So I understand that the city, this is where my brain's been focusing on this topic all along. And we're separate, right? We're our own budget. We're separate under the city charter. We function out in our budget. They give us a number, we spend our money. I understand that the city has a policy on what's required. Makes perfect sense. How is it that the city can require that we do it all in one batch?
Can I speak to that?
Somebody tell me.
So it's more or less not a requirement as it is best practice. It's something I advocated for as well on our side of things. And to ensure that it's in one batch and we know, like we said, we don't know the cost that people are gonna get reimbursed in the second course. So doing it all whole in one batch is the best practice. Where an instance like this, sure, we can, I'd say an exception can be made to try and amend for the current situation, but as best practice stands, it would be to do it in one batch, a separate batch that you would sign. You know, it'd be one of the batches that you sign every month or every 2 weeks rather. And just have it clean accounting wise and clean, everything's going down, they're gonna look at GTA reimbursements for that whole batch, and that's gonna be, it's not gonna be piecemeal together, that's.
Okay, can I question that?
Can I just say something too? I've signed the warrants for a really long time.
Yeah.
And there's always a prorated piece, the first course getting processed, the second piece was prorated, so. To me, it made sense that they were working from a $50,000 cap to make sure that that proration was done correctly, because
But
if
they
they
don't
get,
prorate the first 50,000.
So
They only
do.
prorate the second
well,
10,000.
if we're
They
paying,
run out of money, they
if-
run out of money, they don't. prorate.
but if we're paying the first course of everyone.
Yep.
And we have a batch that's substantial and pay that. And then we want to look to the second courses, and we might have people that have their documentations in. There could be other teachers that are still submitting their first course,
Right,
which will change the amount of money left from the batch of 50,000 or 60,000. And we cannot pay the second, any portion of the second course until
Right.
we know all the first courses are done. So whichever way you go, there needs to be a deadline, in my opinion. There needs to be a timeline that's very clear for everybody, at bare minimum for the first course, so that we can move forward with a second course for anything.
So,
And
go ahead,
the cap
because I
is a
wanted,
total of
I
50.
wanted to question Cody a little bit
The
more.
cap is a total of 50, so
No.
if you had 70 teachers submitting, you still have to prorate to the 50.
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
Isn't it first come, first serve on the first 50?
No, that's
It's not
why
the
it all
first
goes-
50, it's just the first course gets fully reimbursed and then
Right.
whatever's
But
left
even
over
the
is
language
prorated.
says the first course, if there's
Yeah,
Too much.
If we
Ask
had
for
all of our teachers submit, we would not, we would go over 50,000 with the first course.
Yes, absolutely.
Just by mass.
yeah, if you go, yes, you're right, Kathy.
The
If you
cap
go
is
for-
we pay
If you go over 50,000 on the first courses, then those would be prorated.
prorated.
It hasn't happened recently or if ever, not sure, okay, so typically doesn't happen, but if it was over 50,000 on the first course, we have reimbursement, prorated as well.
Right.
So can I just ask before, Bill, because I know you want to ask more questions, I just need to know this timeline so I can understand it better. So I understand best practices, I do bookkeeping all day long, I understand clean and neat, and that's the best way to manage a budget. But let me ask you this, so if this is your best practice, how long is that time period open for? So in other words, we're doing reimbursements now, January, is that a typical time?
No,
No,
Usually it's earlier.
it's usually in the fall.
But, so the course that they're getting reimbursed for was taken when?
Previous year.
The previous year, meaning the previous school year for us, meaning
Previous-
before
Prior to July
August,
1, I think.
before July 1?
So
So they have August, September, October, November, December, January, and now February and March to get their paperwork in, and we're having a problem getting paperwork? Okay.
well, but see, this is about, is I guess we didn't actually, in the language of the contract, we're supposed to reimburse September.
Right,
Okay, so,
for
right,
any courses before July 1st.
but there's
Okay.
no, this is the challenge, this is
Yeah.
why we propose change of creating a submission deadline, there's no submission deadline, so if we're getting things, so it actually is a very difficult thing to do
Yeah.
by September, because you're probably getting things in August and September and
Yeah.
in September, then you also may be getting things in October,
Right,
okay?
No,
And
I
because there's no, and then at that point, we get some more in, and it's like, oh, gotta go back to the beginning.
no, I under,
Yeah.
the timeline was my, okay, I get this now,
Yeah.
because I just needed, I thought we were waiting for people who were taking classes up
No.
until like a summer course or something, and that could throw things off, but if you're saying all classes have to be completed by July 1st, and then submit the documentation, September, October, November, whatever you recommend, I can see that making sense to do all one batch. I was trying to understand the one batch, if the time period was a little different.
Yeah, it's
So I
just solely
apologize, Bill, I just
documentation.
didn't understand that.
And that was kind of my question. I guess I'm a teacher and I'm sitting there saying, well, I just took a course. I mean, you want to be made whole on the course as quickly as possible, right? That makes sense. But it's really the waiting to submit the batch that can be the sticking point, correct?
yes.
Especially if things keep coming in.
Especially if stuff keeps coming.
The batch is predicated upon the backup documentation submission.
Yeah,
The batch is, if we had everything,
yeah,
the batch
It
is
would be
no
easy.
problem.
the batch would be no problem.
Right.
So a potential way forward, and we've had conversations with GTA leadership on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Is to propose a deadline, a submission deadline for all of the needed documents.
Yeah.
We need to work out that deadline with the GTA leadership.
Yeah.
But for example, if we said, if you finished your course by July 1, get your documentation in by August 31st. We can give a little wiggle room for anybody who has, sometimes colleges have delayed on transcripts in particular, right? But if you get it in by August 31st, and we would, with the intent of getting it on the warrant at the end of September, beginning of October, that to me feels like a reasonable expectation. It gives several months for people to get their documentation in, but puts an end to it. So that it's not this forever just trying, no, that's not the correct documentation, please send me this, and the back and forth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. One more question for me. The people that are taking a second course, are they kind of rolling the dice a little bit in that their course may be end up being prorated?
Right, so it's more often than not prorated, the
Yeah.
second course. So,
Cause you burn through that initial,
this year we're at about 38% for the second course if we get all the documentation in. Again, if we're not getting all of that in, that percentage of the second course would go up for those that have the
Yeah.
documentation.
And it's the same deadline, it's the same time period for taking the class.
Yes,
So
yeah,
all by July.
all by
1st.
July 1. I believe there is,
The course, finish
the course. There's a deadline of when you take
Yeah,
the
it
course,
says
there's not a
July 1.
deadline when you submit the.
Well, it says for the month commencing, for the 12-month period commencing July 1 of any year.
Yeah, so yeah.
It's the year before, yeah.
They would be applying for approval and then get reimbursement the following test.
yeah.
So that second course has to be done the same.
Look, if they get fall and spring.
Yeah, no, I'm just making sure it's the same and not like after that time period. So that sounds very reasonable.
So, next steps are to nail down, just the last 9 or 10 folks to make sure they get their documentation in ASAP. As soon as that's done, that's can go forward. And then pay that out. So that's, highest priority right now, is to help those people get that information in and, get it paid. And then we'll also work at the same time, get a deadline and just clarify the process with the PTA.
And how will you do that?
So that will be
Those
what,
last 9 people,
so Brittany is emailing them directly.
is she giving them a deadline?
Well, there isn't a deadline, so
Yeah.
that we need to have a deadline for her to
Right.
be able to give that,
Yeah.
right? So that's part of the problem.
Okay.
The other things that we are working on, the infographic is new, brand new. Brittany is working on like a one-pager of what is needed and where you need to put it. And we'll also be creating a little video, how-to video, of how to submit everything into Frontline. We're
Okay.
trying to make it as clear and easy as possible. But the requirements of documents are what they need to give us.
So, okay. So trying to think of the resolution, right? And all we can do is make a recommendation. So I'm wondering, I'm thinking, I'm just talking through this, not making a motion right now. To recommend to the full committee to allow the superintendent to meet with the GTA president and team of whatever they do and come up with some side letter of agreement for dates of submission.
Kind of operational.
Or just recommend it.
Yeah, and I
We
mean,
have to get it added
I come back to.
That's why I mean a vote is just to
Yeah,
recommend. to
no,
the-
this is happening, we're sort of giving you an update.
So, but you coming up with that new date is kind of reopening the contract language, because it's something we want to put in the contract, correct?
I wouldn't use that term.
You wouldn't,
No, I wouldn't.
you're not putting this in the contract.
No, we would create a side letter on it. Not really a contract.
Right, but that's why I'm saying for you to meet with the GTA to come up with a side letter of agreement. And then attach it, but you need, instead of the bargaining team doing it, we're having you do it.
Yeah.
So we, who are responsible for negotiations, need to make a recommendation that you meet with them and not the team.
Sure, that's fine.
And then come forward with a side letter and
Yeah.
we're good. So the motion is to give you the authority to go do it instead of the negotiating team doing, not what you come up with.
Sounds good to me.
And I'm just throwing this out for discussion.
Yeah, no, that's good. The only thing I see, which I assume you'll get pushback on, is that if it's not received by a certain deadline, it would not be eligible for submission or reimbursement. What I would suggest is not eligible for submission this round. It waits 12 months. It gets put into the next.
Oh, then you're going next year though. I would
All I'm
just think
saying
subject to
is-
funding.
I just think you're
We
gonna
can
get,
talk strategy and,
anyway, good luck.
Yeah.
Come up with a date.
I don't know if they can do 2 years later.
True.
Subject to funding.
Okay.
But I'm
Yeah.
just putting that out there for you, because you two are on the negotiating team, not me, so.
The date, I think that having a date operationally makes perfect sense, so that we don't have people wondering why they're not getting reimbursed.
Right.
And
And for those teachers who have everything in, I can't imagine how frustrating it is.
Right.
I had a different impression of what was going on. I thought other stuff was going on. That's why I was inquiring to find out.
So do we need to make a recommendation or do we suspect?
I think we need to make a recommendation to the full committee to allow the superintendent to go and negotiate a side letter agreement to address the concerns of this, of article, whatever it is, of the contract. So I'll make a motion that we recommend to the full school committee to allow Superintendent Lummis and his administrative team to meet with the GTA Association to discuss
Article 23.
Article 23 of the GTA contract regarding reimbursement for course changes to discuss dates for submission.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the vote carries. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Professor Berlin.
Thank you.
I will give you just a short verbal update on 2 Blackburn Drive. So, the city council is considering the purchase of 2 Blackburn Drive where our district offices and preschool are located at. I don't have any detailed information at this point in terms of dollars and cents. There is a meeting at subcommittee tomorrow where Gary, Frisch, and I will be attending. If they have questions for us about use or about needs of the building. There is some sort of out in the conversation in the communities, I've been told, some misunderstanding between assessment and appraisal. I don't know specific numbers, but those numbers in the real estate world, those numbers are often very, very different. And appraisal is assessing the market value of property. And the assessment is what the city of municipality does in terms of taxation of the property. Okay. And I think people are looking at the assessment, the tax assessment, and equating that with the market value of the property. They're always different. The market value almost always being, especially in Massachusetts, always being the higher one. Another question is, people have asked me about why couldn't we buy it earlier at a much lower rate? The rate has always been in the lease. And that has only gone up a few $100,000 since we initially started renting the property. So there was never some deep discount for what we have right now. It really is primarily a matter of, does the city want to continue paying rent, lease pay, rent payments, or do they want to be paying towards ownership? My understanding is the way they would structure any mortgage, so to speak, that would be very, very similar, not less than the lease payments. That's the reason to pursue this. This is why years ago the school committee directed the mayor to pursue it. It hasn't happened. Mayor Berg has proceeded, over the past while that pursue this. I think is important from the educational or programmatic or operational standpoint. It will allow us to make some improvements in the building over time. We weren't willing to, and it didn't make sense to make improvements because we didn't own the property. So we're hoping that the loan order will allow for some improvements, some building envelope ones, which the city has already assessed. What needs to be done in terms of either HVAC or the roof, that sort of thing. Even more importantly, would be considering the new playground and or resurfacing the parking. Playground is the highest priority for me. I think for other folks as well. But the other improvements, but we wouldn't make it. We can't. We've been sort of on a holding pattern, making improvements. It's a lease space. This will allow us to move on and consider.
Are they voting on it? What are they?
No, so what happens tomorrow, there's a subcommittee meeting on it, and then it will move to public hearing. I believe the public hearing is tentative scheduled for the beginning of April. I don't know the exact date. Off the top of my head. I'm not gonna figure it out. One moment, I think it's tentatively scheduled for it's the 25th, so next week, next Tuesday. At their city council meeting. All right.
Are you gonna be at both here
Yes,
speaking,
we'll see how this goes.
depending?
Yes, I will express the need for, not only owning the building, but also being able to make improvements.
As I know, a lot of the pushback is that many in the community feel that we can fit our program in the new school.
Oh, that's,
Well, I'm just saying, this
Yeah,
is
so
the
I-
discussion, right?
yeah.
So we know,
Yeah.
because we've been working and talking this for years. But, seeing a very large school, and most not knowing how many children are in the building.
Yeah.
For that expanding program, that's getting bigger every year.
yeah,
I
I
think
can,
there just needs to be some sense of a discussion from school personnel of the, circumstances that happen in that building.
yeah, and that's why it's helpful for us to go tomorrow to the subcommittee meeting,
What time is that?
on
Do we-
5 o'clock.
National Honor Society.
It's actually, I think it's at 4:30, I think they moved it, tried to move it. But we do have National Society as well tomorrow, John might be late for it.
Okay.
Sorry, that's why going tomorrow, we'll be able to hear what the committee's concerns are, which, are also related to them, to the public. And then, it's helpful though at the same time, if folks hear other concerns, that are related to me. So we can be prepared to answer questions like that, which is helpful though, because there really is no room in these veterans or anywhere elementary schools for, 8 or 9 classrooms of preschool students. This is it's a sizable program that, cannot be incorporated into any of our buildings.
There's
Without
also,
substantial renovations
Yeah.
that we've looked at in the past, it costs millions and millions of
right,
dollars.
yeah, I don't mean,
A lot more.
And just so you know, all those numbers from the prior study, which was a number of years ago at this point, and the different options we had, city council has those.
Okay.
Yeah, all the information, the presentation that you received. I can reiterate it.
okay. Moving on. We go into budget or window replacements?
Budget. Okay, so, just want to remind, so a little bit of a reminder of last week, and that's just to sort of set the scene. And that's because, while the 3 of the committee members were here last week, not, different people tune in different times, which is okay and actually preferred. Folks to keep on joining in the conversation, the discussions around, the budget as we develop it. So a reminder about the way we work and the way we want to work in the Colorado Public Schools, so collaborative and inclusive. So we're always trying to deepen our work, improve our practice, and we do that by working together. Okay, that means we're talking, we have groups of folks work on a variety of things, whether at the school level or across schools. And really important for us to take a variety of perspectives, and experience levels and roles, in order to make the best decisions and ideas possible. A balanced approach to improvement, what we always mean by that is we always start with identifying our strengths, what we're doing well. Then we're open and transparent about the successes and our areas of challenge as well, and where we want to get better at. Just looking at one or the other. And then another piece, being clear, providing support, being accountable. I think our conversation earlier tonight was actually around the tuition request is actually a great example of this. So of the way we work. So first of all, the decisions and the guidance around what courses are included has been developed by numerous people, including teachers and others, okay, as well as administrators. We're working on improvement on that process. So folks talk about what we're doing well, but also we're very open, I think, about what we need to get better at in terms of timing and communication. And then being clear with folks about what deadlines are, or what to provide, or when to provide, that sort of stuff, and providing people support with that. So being clear about what those roles are, what's expected of them, helping working together to understand that is a really important part of getting better at what we do. And I think the work we're doing on special education, really also is a good example of that. We'll talk about that more tonight. So that's the way we work. We're building a budget as we always do based on our, the plan for ongoing improvement and our 4 priorities there. Okay, Cody, go next. Where we're headed, so again, this was presented last week, we want to keep reminding people about it. These are in specific focus areas, continuous strengthening instruction, student learning and achievement, and continue to deepen student belonging. Those are first and foremost 2 highest priorities of the work we do. Okay, you have those 2 things, then you have a chance of kids really learning well and deeply and being prepared for their next steps after college, after high school. We are really working on strengthening our special education practices, supporting vulnerable learners, and then continuing to move a number of operational and curriculum instructional expenditures from grants to our operating budget. With all those things over time. In FY26 next year, we'll be able to invest in some of those places. Talk more about that tonight, okay? Had some detail from last week. Just go back one slide, Cody. So we're going to zero in on tonight on some more details that we provided last week on strengthening special education, on moving curriculum and operational resources onto the operating budget, and also just reiterate that we're expanding next year grant-based and not from the operating, from just right?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah,
Same thing,
so
high
now,
school opportunities.
yeah, I'll talk about that in a detailed
Yeah.
slide before, I mean, coming up, and I'll talk about that. So strengthen special education. So again, reminder of where we're headed, okay? And all these 3 chunks here, inclusion, co-teaching, service and support, and district-wide programs have got to work together, provide the best possible support for kids with disabilities, with a whole variety of needs, okay? And kids need different levels of support and instruction, specialized instruction based on their identified disability, okay, and abilities. And again, we're trying to really create a system of support here that has clear expectations, clear roles, clear methodology, different areas. Okay? So inclusion co-teaching, that's general setting, service and support. Okay, we're talking a fair bit about reading services tonight. That's the area we need to strengthen and improve, and we're going to invest some for next year. Related services, this is occupational therapy, speech services, physical therapy, the like, also behavior support. And then district programs. So we are have in places, but also we're building, continue to build over the course of a few years. All of these. So we have some of these, okay, but what we really want is K through 12, all the way to 22, programs, in all sort of grade spaces. So for example, for severe autism, for autism with flexible inclusion, language-based language skills, those are programs we want typically a lower elementary program and an upper elementary program. Okay, then we also need the emotional behavioral program on that. You also need those at the middle school and at the high school as well. Maybe not all of those, because it depends, what our kids are and also what their ages and their needs are. But to some degree, you really want to make sure you have that across all levels. And then elementary across the 4 schools, not in each school, but across the 4 schools. Okay, so we'll talk about. Let me just sort of add a little bit of detail on this. So right now, where we're structured for elementary, severe autism are at West Parish. Autism with flex and inclusion is at East Veterans. Language-based, which is really primarily in the upper elementary right now, and probably continue that way too, perhaps, is upper elementary at East Veterans. Language skills, which we also call Learning Center, at this point is only at upper elementary at West Parish. Okay. Life skills doesn't exist in the elementary, but may at some point.
Might.
And that really depends. Now, life skills is program and an approach which supports a very small number, very small percentage of students across the board. I don't mean just in Gloucester, I mean in general. Okay. So you may or may not have that need in the district. Okay. And then emotional behavioral, talk more about that we started an upper elementary program this year at Beaman and piloted a lower elementary program at West Parish. Both of those will be at Beaman next year. We're trying to remove a little of the demand that's at West Parish. And also build out that program at Beaman as well.
So nothing at Plum Cove.
Right, not, yeah, and that's, the primary reason at this point
At this
is actually, space. Yeah,
Yes.
space, yep.
Also at Beaman, so that's, so
Okay, Beaman
it's,
doesn't.
not a lot of space there, but having the program there, lower and upper, it's vertically there, so you don't have a lot of movement for kids with in West Parish for the lower, that have to move to Beaman for the upper, right? So they will be in one location.
And did you mention East Vets as well?
Yeah, East Vets for autism with flexible inclusion.
No, I'm saying for this last one, emotional. It was just Beaman and West Parish, correct?
Well, this, for next year, it'll just be Beaman.
Yeah.
Okay, now, all the school has some level of behavioral support in addition to that, so in really all our elementary schools and also Bailey, they have additional either behavioral or paras, or perhaps a teacher as well. Okay, like East Veterans has a teacher as well for that. And that's sort of something that we'll continue to look at and expand as necessary. We'll talk more about that.
So support, but not programs yet.
Service.
Right, yeah,
Service.
services, yes, services, right. And so we see service and support their behaviors, in the second bullet, behavior support, that's the level, that sort of services, where all the elementary schools have right now to a varying degree. And there's also varying need at the different schools as well. Okay,
Yeah.
right, that's where we're headed, okay? This is, I'm not gonna go through this is, reiterates, from Mike's presentation from February 12th. Again, not new, I mean, it's still new, but we're trying to give folks the same messages, repeatedly. Mike is now working more regularly in the schools, working with principals to talk to staff. Okay, that's been happening. Whereas before, he presented to school committee, he'd been mostly working with the program leaders at each of the buildings. And then middle school and high school, more special ed staff there. We're doing more and more of that, because the loans out over time here. An important piece is we're taking initial steps. Sorry, Cody, go to the next slide. So here are the folks on the additions next year, and also some reallocation. Okay, so we're taking initial steps in a lot of these areas. First of all, if you think about the K-8 included program and co-teaching. Okay, so that's that first chunk of services, sort of the least intensive support, special education. We're adding special education teacher at East Veterans.
So that'll make two.
No, East Veterans is.
Oh, there's a bunch, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the behavioral that they're looking
Yeah.
for. All right. No, I know, sorry.
And they would give you numbers, but 4th grade level, special education
Yeah.
liaisons at East Veterans. We'll add a classroom.
Fine.
Okay, good. Let's we can give you the numbers at different points. Let's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
do piece by
No.
piece here, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want, this is gonna be a lot of numbers
I'm
already.
not gonna
right?
hold you to you.
Okay, right. We're adding classroom paraprofessional East Veterans, okay? Adding 2 classroom professionals at West Parish. These are reallocations, which I'll talk about later, okay? They're adding to the school, they're reallocation positions, okay?
Yeah.
That's why it says reallocation. And 1 classroom paraprofessional at Beaman. And we'll be adding 0.5 special education capacity of a teacher at Plum Cove, through a position consolidation, okay? I'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, and then we have reading support, or specialized reading support, as part of the services chunk, okay? At both East Veterans and West Parish, we'll add a special education reading teacher, the new position. And then initial steps on strengthening K-8 district programs, so I mentioned this already, but this is about making sure we have the lower and the upper elementary behavioral, emotional behavioral programs that are district-wide. They'll be at Beaman, okay? Beaman already has the upper elementary one. We're moving, reallocating essentially the staff from that's doing it right now at West Parish over to Beaman.
Doesn't that take away from the program at West Parish?
No, because it's a
It's a balance of both.
you're
because we're
moving-
Not transferring kids. Right.
Right, we're moving to the thing, yes.
A little bit, yeah, there might have, there's, on a lot of this work, there's, rewriting of the IEPs as a sort of an annual basis. So there will be some of that, and so, Mike's talked about, and does, we'll work with families to make sure they understand the changes. They've got to sign off on them, but we'll work with them to understand them. The program at West Parish, which again was new this year, piloting this year, emotional behavior program, very small. Okay, so can we easily, but we do have to work with the family. Yeah. And then we're gonna building a new program at O'Malley for language skills. Okay, this is based in the need of students who are now at O'Malley or moving into O'Malley. Okay, we'll also provide some behavioral support as well. So the one teacher and two paraprofessionals will sort of, that's for both those pieces, language skills and also emotional behaviors. They're different things. Any questions on that?
So I'm seeing, hiring 4 to 5 teachers
Well,
around.
yeah, summer reallocations, that sort of thing, but I think that's, yes, I think it's about right. Yep, I think it's about right. Yep, and we'll look at the numbers.
And special there.
Yep.
Okay.
We also need to strengthen special education support and leadership, okay? This helps do a number of things. It addresses some really high needs in 2 specific schools, O'Malley and West Parish, okay? It also allows us to support staff better, also, and support families and students better, okay? Really, in many ways, it's serving families better and staff better, right? But of course, students are involved too. And so we have program leaders at both O'Malley and West Parish. We're going to shift those to administrative positions, okay? That gives us the flexibility on a number of things, but also it's really sort of a, provide for the complexity of both those schools and the needs that are happening in those schools, okay? Your positions that sort of have outstripped the capacity of a program, a stipended program leader, okay? Also, they need to have evaluation capabilities as well. But they're really, at this point, because you have the programs, the very intensive programs in both schools, the number of students with special education needs, it needs just a different level of capacity and staff.
So these positions will be posted.
Yeah, these will be posted, yeah, right, yeah.
And you're saying assistant principal / special education administrator, one position with both responsibilities?
Yeah, and then it would be really focused, more heavily on special education support.
So do you get the best candidate by doing that?
Uh, yes, we will get good candidates. To work hard for them. Yeah. And then the last piece on this is to support our student and life skill transition programs and also alternative programs, so helping them get ready for their steps after high school. I have a very successful job coach right now, supporting 4 FTE, okay? And we want to increase their capacity because we want to do more of this work with our students, okay? Our goal or purpose in terms of our students with disabilities, all our students, but including students with disabilities, which higher needs, is to make sure they're prepared for their steps after high school. This is a really, really important group of our students that need this level of support.
And you said there's somebody in that position, right?
Yeah, yep. And Mike Jarvis can provide more detail than I can on that position if you would like to ask any question about it. Its purpose, its role.
So similar to what Kathy said, posted position. They're all both posted positions.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, actually, so all 3 of them. Job
That's right.
as well.
Job
Yeah,
as well.
it's 0.5 existing, so we have to post again, that's increasing 0.6.
That person, and should apply.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
yeah.
Nothing about that person, is that in the process.
I'm not worried about people I'm more worried about the posting and the job description, where that's coming from
Yeah.
before you post the position and all that.
Yeah.
So when we see job descriptions before you post,
We have job descriptions for all of these, especially education administrator.
for the administrators.
Yep, and assistant principal already have those. And for job coaches, it's in this position. So I don't see the need to do it. We will post them. We're gonna post pretty soon as anticipated openings.
Well, that's why I'm
Okay.
asking, we have them.
Yeah, because we have those positions. We have some administrator at high school right now.
Okay.
Yep. We have assistant principal, elementary assistant principal at East Veterans.
Okay.
Those are already approved.
So the salaries are,
Yeah, they'll be comparable to those. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Job coach already listed.
so the job coach is becoming a full-time
Yeah,
position, is that what you're saying, but
yeah.
still being a job coach?
Yeah.
Not an administrator?
No, not.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
And so this is, so I mentioned reallocations, this is where we're gonna talk through the reallocation that's happening, okay? And the most important, and these are, these are not easy decisions. Reallocating resources is something that any organization needs to do, because there's no organization that I know that just gets more and more dollars without some difficult work or difficult decisions, especially municipal organizations, which means school districts, okay? And what we're trying to do here is better balance the support and programs across schools and better support some of the schools that have higher needs, either because the student population or really typically because in this case, special education needs.
Can you talk about how many paras are currently at West Parish?
Yes, in fact, let me go through this and I can show
we
you,
do it
okay?
after, yeah.
We are reallocating 4 classroom paraprofessionals from Plum Code. Okay, and also 2 for the preschool, positions at Beaman, West Parish, East Veterans, and O'Malley. Okay, that's a combination of program and classroom paras. Okay, the positions at Beaman, West Parish, East Veterans, O'Malley are a combination of some are classroom paras, still special education paras, and some will be in one of the programs. Okay. Doesn't mean that those people will move in those positions, okay? We will, this is for next year, okay? Like, this is all happening next year, which typically in terms of shifting or transferring para positions, it all has to, it sorts out. The first piece that sorts out is are there any known departures, folks leaving for whatever reason they have, or retirements. Okay, that we create some openings. Okay, at that point, we start posting those openings. And we'll also post these as well. And then people can apply for those. And then there'll be some, moving around, okay? We fully anticipate that any paraprofessional who's in the district now, who wants a position next year, will be able to have one, okay? You'll see down here further, we expect to, at this point, reduce 1 paraprofessional position at the preschool, okay? We're not reallocating it to a new position. That's just 1, and we always will have more than 1 paraprofessional needed for their own personal reasons, okay? Or, so there's not much risk or any risk of a para who wants to be here, who's already here, not having a position available to them.
Minus the 1 para at the preschool.
Well, but even if the pair, all the paras, say, I'm just not, I'm just illustrating something to make a point,
Yeah.
okay? So there are 7 para positions that are being reallocated, 4 from Plum Code, 3 from the preschool, okay? 2 from the preschool, 1 will be cut, okay? Because there's always coming and going with paraprofessionals, okay? If people decide, to move on or retire, that we are extremely confident that any para who has a job currently wants a job next year will have a position available to them.
Understood.
Okay. The important piece here is to make sure that we get the right people in their places. Okay? So folks who, really want to work in the programs or in the programs, or want a classroom mission or have a classroom mission. So that's that fit matters a lot. Okay. I mentioned the upgrading of program leader positions to administrative positions already. Okay. So what you have there, it's the cost of that new position is the difference between the existing staff member in the program leader position and the administrative salary. It's not a full, salary new. It's a difference between current position and new position. Makes sense?
Yeah.
That's the second bullet there. The third bullet really is just this moving, we were talking about this, moving the staff who are in the emotional behavioral program at West Parish, the new one there at Lower Elementary, moving them over to West Parish. It's a really moving of those staff. Do that. And then the last piece here is consolidated program leader position at Beaman and Plumco. We have a folks who do let me say this. Part-time program leader roles at both places. So they have caseloads and they have program leader positions at both schools. Okay, we're going to make it one program leader position that doesn't have a caseload. Okay, and then that person will span both schools.
Probably good for continuity.
Yeah, it's a big capacity.
Yeah.
And it adds another teacher to.
Yeah, at the capacity of really half of the FTE capacity of Plumco. Okay, so they essentially have sort of 2.5 in a sense, because they have there's some complications here. Okay, so I'm not saying all the specific details right, but essentially they have, because the way the program leader is apportioned out there, essentially have the capacity of 2.5 education teachers to support students. While the other half is you're doing all the work of a program leader, IEPs, that sort of stuff, meetings, assessments. This change here, this consolidation allows Plumco to have full 3.0 FTE, teachers, 3 FTE teachers.
This is an open meeting.
You can
I
listen
need to learn.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I didn't ask anybody else. I just wanted to print out a poster for you and anything for him.
Welcome to stay.
So that's, I think, next slide, I think that's all I got. Oh yeah, sorry, this is the last piece. I believe this is the last piece that I'm gonna talk, and then Gary will get into all the fun stuff, and numbers and offsets and circuit rate, all that fun stuff. Okay. This is where we're talking about taking dollars that are on grants and have been on grants on the operating aid. Okay, so the first one are curriculum materials that we need annually. Those are what we call consumables, so workbook, worksheets that kids use and utilize and use up, and also software licenses. And these are essential software curriculum resources. Amy's going to give us an example of a few of them, and you will recognize all, if not most, of the names.
So with our ESSER dollars, we did a lot of curriculum adoption, which was wonderful. And we did buy a lot of physical materials, the Wit and Wisdom books and those kind of things. But the ongoing cost of digital licenses to continue that curriculum needs to be in the operating budget. So this increase would pay for things like the Wit and Wisdom digital licenses, Amplify Desmos, Amplify ELA, Dibbles testing, Happy Numbers, IXL. I think when Mike Titus came and talked about, that was one of his priorities, to make sure we kept that because that supports Amplify Desmos at the middle school. Includes other things like Lexia, Star 360, our Renaissance. We were able to utilize ESSER dollars for those in the last few years, and now that we don't have that, it has to go back onto the operating budget.
And as you recognize, those are our core. Some of those are our core curriculum, especially at elementary and middle.
Those grants were so instrumental that it would have taken us a lot to get that kind of investment in curriculum in our regular budget.
Right.
The challenge, of course, is that the software license keep coming.
Yes, they're annual, so we need to sustain.
Bus transportation lease has been paid by ARPA. That's coming on to the operating budget. IT costs, really two specifically. One is new, one was we've been using ESSER dollars with the Chromebooks, so those now have to come back on the operating budget, or become on the operating budget. I think essentially the first time, really, I believe, or at least the first time in a few years. We are, as part of that approach, be leasing 1 grade's worth of Chromebooks next year. Is that right? Or is it 2? One grade's worth. Is it 2? 2. So we're leasing. We've been purchasing them. This way we'll lease them. That lowers our annual cost for those. Okay. The phone system is new and different. We have a new different phone system. It's part of the city's phone system, and we have to pay a portion of that. And then O'Malley Academy, we're adding bit by bit more dollars on the operating budget for O'Malley Academy. It's $20,000 in FY 25, we're adding $5,000 more, so that increases $20,000 for a total of a total budget of the neighborhood of $140,000 or $140,000. Which is
40,000 against the budget for O'Malley Academy.
So it's the 21st century grant. It initially was much more, but every 3 years it decreases
Right.
with the intention of districts picking up some of that money. We've been slow to pick up that money over the years. This year we have $20,000 that goes towards that, and it's hard to increase that in large increments. So we're adding 5,000 more next year, and we're going to keep in the spirit of the grant, continue to support it.
And GEF makes up a lot.
GEF is a-
Fundraising for
Yes.
the program.
GEF is a
itself.
key partner with that helps with them.
When you go to play and you give your money, that helps.
Right.
buy more
Before you go on, the phone system, did we give a price for that?
$40,000.
40,000? And were we involved in the conversation to replace that phones?
Yes, we're deeply involved in that conversation. You know, and we're deeply involved in the conversation. Grant Harris was, and the city was, and they're working very closely, like they always do on joint projects, okay? Our team, our IT team is very, very involved in doing all the work.
They paid for all the new phones.
The city paid for the new phones and the transition over. Okay, now we need to pick up the
Warranty.
yearly
maintenance.
Warranty and maintenance?
yeah,
All the annual cost out.
the annual cost of the phone.
Is it the
They fronted
voiceover
the
still?
million or whatever it costs to get it going.
Is it the voiceover system still?
Yeah, it's voice over internet, yeah,
Work
voice
better
over
than what we
internet.
have?
Sorry,
Work better
It's
than what we
improved.
have?
It's an
Oh my
improvement.
gosh,
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Okay, so I just want to show. Okay, actually, before I go there, I want to show one. If I can, here,
Want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, if I can share. So you're asking about paraprofessionals before, so I just want to show this. So, so you're asking about paras before. So what we saw this year, and this has been this way for a few years, okay, is these are the classroom paras for each of the schools. This yellow column, okay? So you can see that there's just little differences, right? Especially at the elementary schools. Okay, so you have, and they're different size schools, but also different size classroom paras, right?
We have 3 paras at least that's.
No, so the totals are here.
Oh, down here.
Your different types of paras, sorry, let me,
Yeah.
different kindergarten paras, classroom paras, 1-to-1, students, behavioral, Title I paras, okay? These are behavioral social support, we talked about before, and just your programs, okay? So there are just lots of different types. The one that's, comparable across all schools is the classroom one. These are ones who are, used for lots of purposes, okay, support, education, support interventions, support all sorts of things, okay? But they're really designed to be education paras, right? And so you can see that there's just real difference, okay? And so this is why, and I also, between the programs at East Bath and the programs at West Parish and now at Beaman, there's some balancing out we need to do. Okay, so this is why we're looking, reallocating for this reason, basically. Again, I don't want to, that it's going to be a challenge. Unco will have to do something's different, okay? Other schools have been doing that too as well. So I don't want to minimize or just pass off the complexity here. But this is the part of the reason we're doing it, especially if you add in the complexity of the programs each of these students. Not an easy decision at all. One that, Andrew is aware of and it's shared with the staff, and then we're really going to work on But what we're aiming to do, classroom pairs is, in terms of education, teachers at each school is, they're really the backbone of the inclusion and co-teaching program. So in order to do that well, that was, sufficient for each school, okay? And the way where we were, especially with East Vets and West Parish, we're not there yet. But next year's, through this allocation next year, it helps us make progress towards that.
I see that.
Yeah, just want to show folks
This is
that.
helpful, thank you.
And
Can
then,
I ask a question on the parents in kindergarten, is that kind of what all schools do, is have a parent in every kindergarten?
all schools?
In general? A lot of schools.
Yeah.
I would say yes, only because the independent skills are virtually, right? So there's a lot of learning that's going on. And so to have extra support, it's
To get
best
them.
practice, yeah. That's very
Like a school routine and stay on task.
That's when we start to learn too about eligibility for some of the kids.
Sure.
We didn't have the preschool experience.
All right, so we're just gonna wrap up a few things. These are just, I'm going through changes essentially, okay? And you can see it, they're not simple to talk through, but they're also significant, not just, numbers, but also because what we're trying to work on and get better at. So these are the grants. So, career vocational technical education, so a bunch of grants. These are a real combination. These are state grants, these are some federal grants as well, private grants. GF helping us out on these. GF is helping out a lot on long-term medical assisting. Okay, GF has been just a stalwart, and on really helping us long-term medical assisting. CASA has been a big help. A lot of folks have been a big help. So those are all from grants. So we're launching the exploratory program across all 5 programs. Long-term medical assisting, and they continue to upgrade the CBT classrooms, facilities, all grant-based, okay? Really for the next couple of years. And the other grants, Canadian Science Coordinator, also a significant grant on that, to keep that funding, keep that position on grant funding. We give credit to, again, GF, Amy Pasquarello, and also Amy Donnelly, as well as Dave Brown, to support that position while it's done. And we showed you just last week some of the work that Amy Donnelly is coordinating in terms of supporting elementary teachers. That's one of the main roles in this, in providing professional development for elementary teachers on teaching science. And the other area you heard a lot about, we'll get more update next week. The school committee is just to continue professional learning we're doing with our clinicians, mental health and social emotional learning, also connected to supporting special education students with therapeutic services. So it's been doing quite a bit of that, a number of grants supporting that, and also things like the Academy Speaker Series. But those are types of things that we're continuing or expanding that are grant-based and not on the operating. What we have next here is Gary's going to go into the details of the proposed budget details in terms of actually you can just show the is that be the animation. So you're gonna go through these summary of changes. I just did actual services. So Gary go through all these 5 pieces. Okay. Buckle up. That's a lot more numbers.
Okay, so just to summarize, this is what Ben told you last week. We have budget increase. Can you do FY26? That's we're not seeing.
Oh, Stephanie, can you just hit on the photos of people?
I tried to look.
Just that one line on the left.
Yes, right there.
Yeah, right there. Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so our total budget for FY26 is 54.2 million. That's an annual increase of $2.7 million. That amounts to a 5.29% increase, which is over time, that is the second largest increase over the last 7 years. So we are fortunate to get that kind of increase in our budget. So let's look at the next slide here. This is a summary of changes that make up the $2.7 million increase. Special education, these are mandated services that, now this is budget. budget is going down 250, and we were able to do that because we had higher offsets planned. So more offsets to the total cost will bring down the amount we need the budget to absorb. Next, salary and benefit increases, you'll see that, salaries and benefits. And then transportation lease payments, Ben talked about this. Last year, this payment, this is the upcoming third year of our third-year lease, 3-year lease. Was $376,000. Last year, that was paid by ARPA. This year, we need to put it in the operating fund. So that would be an increase to our budget. And then this is the exciting part. We had to increase, as Amy and Ben talked about, some of the curriculum materials, those digital licenses, which are so important. That was about $200,000. That was picked up by ESSER. ESSER has now ended, and so now we want to continue that and put it on the operating fund to continue having those services from year after year. 60,000 was the lease payments for, I believe, 2 years of 2 years of Chromebooks. The lease allows us to spread it over 3 years, so the cost is more doable in 1 year. And then positions. So here, this says 240,000 for the new positions. So really, that was what I said we can absorb in our new costs into our budget this year was 500,000. The 260 we just covered. The 240 is new program strengthening special ed services. Now the 240 is augmented by the reallocations. So it's going to be more positions, but they're reallocated from other areas in the budget. So
Let me be clear about that. The reallocation is keeping the same number of positions, it might be different places with different types of positions.
yeah,
Addition, we actually want to point this out, we essentially are taking under our operating budget, $5,000 in new costs. How much, Ben? $500,000, $500,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you will not, I don't think you'll see that many places this year. Okay, you know, I know for sure, Triton, you're looking at overrides, Matrix looking at override, and you've switched, folks are looking at overrides or cuts. Some cuts are significant. I heard today as many as 20 under consideration, $2 million in cuts at Manchester. Okay, that's the amount we made last year, and they're quite a bit smaller than us.
Last year.
Okay, so again, this is, we'll show you tonight some, this is not all the way we want to go, in terms of in the coming years here, but being able to add, $5,000 under operating budget, 240,000 away from new positions, again, is significant.
Would that one position that was going from part-time to full-time, job coach?
Yeah, job
Right.
coach, yeah.
Would that be included in that?
yes,
Yeah. Pretty much all the additions that we just talked through are in here,
Okay.
and then of course the reallocations, are net zero.
Understood.
so it's always easier to add than to subtract or to reallocate. It's much more complex and more difficult, but you're able to afford that in the budget. Otherwise, we wouldn't be. So.
Can I jump ahead with a question on
Yeah,
of
sure.
these items? One in particular is the health insurance.
Mhm.
Is that totally fixed at this point, or can that vary between now and?
Yeah, that's great question. We're going to have open enrollment from April 2nd to May 4th. So there's considerable plan costs that are different from plan to plan. And so it makes a big difference if a person selects HMO, which is on the lower end, versus an indemnity program, which is higher. So that's really gonna make a difference. So we need to fine tune it and revisit that after the open enrollment.
Have you taken a snapshot to see, and usually I do that, I'm a GIC coordinator, I think I would have done this already, but I haven't seen the numbers. To know what plans went up the most, because 8% is the average over all the plans, right? But someone like me that's on, because I'm on GIC, my work, the one that plan that I'm on, which is Brigham, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mass General,
yeah,
is that one that went up significant, because that's where a majority of the people go to because of the plan, right? So have you done any snapshot to see if open enrollment really will make a difference? Or do we know if we're already going up because the majority of people are in those programs or those policies that significantly went up as opposed to others?
What we did, worked with Cody, and Cody downloaded all the employees
Yeah.
and their selections,
Yeah.
current
What they are
selections.
currently, yeah.
Then we applied the new rates. And so
You did an 8% rate or applied the rate of each?
applied the rate of each
Okay,
specific.
okay.
That gives you a more accurate amount.
And where did you come up?
I came up with around 8%
You did?
increase, yeah. So now that can change, and then obviously with, it'll change every month as new people come onto the plan with different selections and people go off the plan. So it fluctuates month by month, but we feel pretty confident that we have a good estimate.
And the big change will be during that open enrollment period.
Yes,
If there is a big change.
if there is, we don't know.
Usually it's not too big.
But I mean, plan costs did go up higher, and people may, see that as an incentive to change. I don't know.
Right.
But there is considerable difference between the low end plans and the high end plans, so. Right now, that it looks like a lot of people have selected, as you said, the Brigham,
Mass General,
Mass General,
yeah, it used to be always.
and Harvard Pilgrim Quality, yeah. So that's lower end cost.
Do the positions, the figure 240,000, does that include health insurance?
No, the hundreds is above that. Few rows above it.
Okay.
We have added a little cushion for new positions.
Okay.
Oh, as you're saying, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
So it's, any other questions on this slide? Okay, moving on to the next slide. This is a departmental look. And then we compared it FY 26 to 25. And you'll see two bars for each department. FY 26 is higher in each instance, except for maybe facilities, which you can't see, it's so small. But the four largest departments, employee benefits, special ed, high school and middle school. And you'll see that each and every year. Those are your major cost centers. So let's move on to the
Yeah, but
next
you
slide.
added up the elementary, it would just make the line longer, right?
Yeah, if I
Instead of bringing them
combine,
down?
yeah, if I combine, we'll see that in a minute. Minute is up, and here elementary, this is the same data, more summarized, but by department. Elementaries are $10 million, so when we group all the elementaries, it is higher than the high school and the middle school. And let me cover the, you'll see in the right-hand column, the percentage increase. You'll notice that IT, transportation, and professional development are outliers here. Professional development, those were the 70% increase is due to the moving the curriculum digital licenses back onto the operating fund. So that was like $200,000 right there.
240 from the last, I know, yeah.
Yeah, it's 200 or the 240.
Yeah, oh, I see,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, right. IT, the two factors that we talked about, the leases on the Chromebooks. And then the warranty maintenance on the phone system. Add up to 100,000, and that comprises a large portion of the increase for IT. And then we're left with transportation. We already talked about that. That's that lease payment of 376,000 that we had to put on the operating fund because ARPA paid it last year, and that was the last year for ARPA. Any questions on that?
How
Okay,
did facilities go down?
I'm sorry?
How did facilities go down?
That was part of a consolidation where that 9,000 or 10,000 rather. Was paying for our phone system annual cost before, so I just absorbed it into the IT account that is funding in totality now.
So that's fine.
Sort of transfer phone costs to IT,
Yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we saw this slide last week. I've updated the description. There's really 4 categories. This is categorized by objects. Objects are a description of the type of expenditure. So the 4 main expenditure groups are salaries, benefits, contractual services. And a lot of people say, what are contractual services? I have a slide on the next slide that will explain what goes into what makes up the contractual services. And then supplies and materials. So that adds up to 100%. Let's go to the next slide here. And this is the contractual services. Last week, there was a descriptor that said tuition, but this is tuition. The tuition budget is only for the budget, not for the total cost. So the total cost is higher and it's brought down because of offsets. We'll talk about offsets in a minute. So basically, these are contractual in nature. You've got your tuition, you've got your professional services for special ed services like rehab and OT, BT, speech pathology. Okay, and then we have the lease payments again, total 5.2 million. And that rounds out the contractual services. Any questions? Okay, moving right along. Circuit breaker, let's talk circuit breaker. Now, this may be for some of you like Michelle and Melissa and Kathy. This is this is a little repeat, but circuit breaker is that program by the Massachusetts state that provides reimbursements for high cost students.
We call pothole money. What's to call it pothole money? Yeah, we did years ago.
Yeah, that was another grant. Yeah,
That was another grant?
yeah, I missed it. I really missed it.
But that's not a circuit breaker.
No,
What was it?
it was a pothole grant was, I think they had additional money one year
No, we always had pothole.
and they
First 10 years I was on the committee.
And they gave it put it into a grant that you can spend anyhow,
Yeah.
anywhere. So there's no restrictions, so that's why we liked it. Yeah. And that was good old days. Okay. Moving on, circuit breaker. There's a threshold on circuit breaker, so they reimburse for high cost students mainly the high cost students are your out of district students. And first, before there's any reimbursement, you have to subtract 4 times the foundation cost per student statewide. All this verbiage is in the slides. So if you miss one thing I'm saying, you can look again and remember. But $53,000 you have to subtract from your total cost of tuition. So for example, we got an example here. Gotta get to it. Okay, I'll forget the example. Sorry.
Essentially, if tuition is $75,000.
Right.
The only amount you're eligible for reimbursement is the amount above $53,000.
Yeah, so
At
the excess
75%.
cost,
Right, then you take 70% of that.
so basically you're
It's a great actually
spending,
math problem for like elementary or really actually probably middle school kids to work on.
Sure.
so the excess cost multiplied by 75% is the highest amount you can get reimbursed. That has been, last several years have been 75%. Because of the Student Opportunity Act, they added transportation. And transportation is now reimbursable. But on the transportation, they prorated because they didn't budget enough money. And the proration factor last year was 44%. So we projected, we'll go through our projection for what we think we'll receive next year. But it's based upon this formula. Any
Which is
questions?
not the foundation form,
No.
because that's a high school student
Or
or college.
things.
All right, let's turn to next. Okay, here's our projected circuit breaker claim. And I work with Mike's office, hand in glove on this because it's the end result, the bottom line, it's about $3.1 million, significant reimbursement for these high cost students. But we have 3 categories. Again, we talked about tuition. We look at the claims after the threshold. Remember that threshold, we have to subtract 53,000. That comes to, for us, comes to 3.3 million. And then you apply the 75%, we expect to receive 2.5 million rounded off. Now, our transportation claims, those are, costs above and beyond the tuition. And that usually we've already subtracted the 53. We basically take the transportation invoice and multiply it by 44%. That's the proration factor I talked about. So that's 500,000. And then we do get a benefit for school choice students. Students that have live in our district but choiced out. And we still get reimbursement for that. And that it's about 100,000. It's 75%, about 75,000. So the total, about 3.1 million. Now we're going to look at how do we spend 3.1 million?
I just want to point out, if I did my math correctly, they're underfunding transportation by $370,000.
Yeah, that's a ton of money, and if you and other school committee members want to
We'll advocate.
advocate, then it would be a huge help.
As long as it doesn't go lower, I mean, what the federal government's gonna do this year.
Yeah. Higher is better. Let's look at the next slide here. Okay, so we talked about the 3.1, that's the blue bar. Now, how are we gonna spend that? We have in our offsets, we have allocated $800,000 against the tuition cost. And we've allocated about 335,000 against our transportation costs for a total. Subtracting those two amounts from the 3.1 we get 1.9 million. So the 1.9 million, we're going to carry forward. We're not gonna use it for FY 26. We're gonna use it for FY 27. We can only carry it over 1 year.
So you're putting it in, basically putting it in the bank for a year, I mean, you're gonna sit on it for a year. Right, and then apply it in 27.
Yeah, best practice is to defer as much as you can for the following
We
fiscal
didn't do
year.
that last year.
We have another for 2 years, and
Yeah,
this,
well-
what Gary's showing you is a very large step back to that.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, ideally, if we're getting a reimbursement of $3.1 million, okay, which is the projection for FY 27, that we would then carry over $3.1 million. But the fact that we're moving towards closer to $2 million, which means we're heading in the right direction.
Right.
I was just saying that.
No,
Yeah, so we're heading back there. I think we carried over less than $1 million the year before last, I think. So anyway, we're heading back there.
Yeah, this is more of a positive,
But we'll show you some of the ways we got, we'll show you exactly how we got there in terms of some of the choices we're making later on, but this is a clear step in the right direction.
yeah, we'll show you the offsets in a minute or two. The offsets, you will see, help us get to this larger, carry forward.
And also stabilization fund as a major role.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Here, this is basically what I just told you. But here's, and we can skip over it, yeah. So here is our budget for out-of-district tuition is going up by 250,000 from last year.
Sorry, there are costs.
Our total, these are costs, actual costs, projected. So we're projected to go 250,000 for out-of-district tuition. So let's see how we're going to be able to pay for that. How are we going to pay for the 7.2 million? We're going to use our offset of 800,000 from the circuit breaker claim, going to be filed in FY for fiscal year 26. 800,000. We're going to use prepaid tuition from this year. So this year, we're going to have 1.25 million available, and we're going to encumber that amount into FY 26. And then this is new this year. So the city has talked about giving us special education stabilization fund. So we're using the money from this free cash that will go into the stabilization fund. We're going to use that to pay a portion of the 7.2 million. So that's from this year's free cash. And then for next year's free cash, we also have allocated 750,000.
Wait, why are we using the term free cash?
That's just what stabilization funds are.
That's how it's funded. Free cash funds.
But it's out of our fund.
Yeah.
So you're calling it free cash and.
Yeah, so
I don't like that.
I hear you. We're just talking about using stabilization fund.
Okay,
Don't mention free cash.
Right, because it's
okay.
not free cash.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a.
We should be getting free cash.
It's a poorly named.
That's a
topic.
different conversation.
Different.
yeah, I'll go with,
That's a different.
Stabilization.
Thank you.
I'll go with your words.
Story for another day.
Yeah, that was a good point. So stabilization fund, the city has promised us 750,000 from FY 25. And then next year, FY 26, another 750. That allows us to bring down our budget down to $3.7 billion. And last year, it was 3.950. So it's actually a reduction of 250,000 for our budget.
So what we'll do in the first year here of having a stabilization fund at our disposal is we'll use it both these the same fiscal year. Okay. Going forward, we will continue to use stabilization fund in the year, if we need it, in the year that it's funded. Okay, so,
Do you think there'll be any concern about that on the city side? Yep. Meaning, like, we haven't closed out fiscal 25 yet to lead to the 26 stabilization being replenished.
Yep.
But I know that's what they said they would do.
so how it's developed, okay, the language that goes into the formula for clenching it is pretty crucial. Okay. I think that they'll have some questions about it, certainly. And something we need to continue to push for, the mayor's saying was set up, you know. Expecting it to happen, so. But no, it's,
So there's no cap in the language of the development of that fund.
I think there is a cap of $750,000. I mean, there's no
That's the
language, yet.
max.
We haven't seen any language in the development,
Is it said that?
but, yeah, it comes out of it.
So we're spending it, it hasn't even been written.
Well,
Okay, no, I'm just trying to understand that.
yeah,
Planning
planning to use.
to use it.
So,
And then, as you said, I mean, as recently as last meeting, the mayor has, committed to it in every single meeting you have. Okay, I'm not that concerned about it, right?
He said unless something goes wrong drastically at the federal level.
No, but that wasn't on,
That was at our last meeting.
no, but that wasn't related to stabilization fund.
that was about the overall.
Yeah.
Budget.
Overall.
That was,
Now, the stabilization fund, we know the free cash is certified at this point, and, Gary checked with Con this week about what's the next steps on it, and from us. So I can keep it informed of the process.
I mean, our budget. So this is the plan. And it's important to know the details and how that is makes our budget. Now, as I said, our large carry forward of 1.9 million, that helps us reach that 1.9. If we didn't have access to the stabilization fund, it would be less carry forward.
I don't like
Just
it.
so I'm clear, Melissa, are you saying that you're concerned that
I have a
we're
lot
gonna
of
use
concern.
both those stabilization funds when we haven't even got to that year
So-
yet?
First of all, the fund hasn't been developed, right? And the language hasn't been developed, right? But I believe that they'll get that done. And the commitment is there this year. We know that some of the free cash is going into that stabilization fund, right? So we're good for this year. I'm concerned that we're not using it this year. Putting it over to next year, and in addition, having you feel confident that it's gonna be there next year. I don't. You could have a different mayor, you can have a different budget. God knows, like I said, the world is uncertain right now with budgets, and not that that's freaking me out, but it's just making me dig my heels into how we're spending, right? So this budget is relying heavily on 1.5 million next year in a fund that hasn't been written yet, that we have to ask permission to get, that we don't know who's gonna be on the city council controlling it or in the mayor's office controlling it. That is a huge concern. I'm not saying it's not a risk we shouldn't take, but I don't,
There's,
I don't like it.
as Gary said, it's really impacting the planning board circuit breaker.
Yeah.
Okay. We could use this year's stabilization fund was created, we could use it in fiscal 25.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, and then carry forward more, rebate relief. Okay, so that's another way to use it this year.
Day or circuit breaker.
Yeah, we're choosing on circuit breaker, we could use it prepaid. Okay, so there's some different pieces here. And it's not impacting the operating budget. It wouldn't, for this year, it would potentially impact the operating budget the following year. Okay, so.
Same effect.
Yeah, similar effect, right? So those are some, pieces there, but, we hear you. This is aggressive. It allows us to really stabilize such education. okay, which is the point of it.
No, that's priority, right?
Yes.
Stabilize education, that's what we're trying to do, but I just feel like doing very strategically planned. I just have concerns of the unknown, and that's just how my brain works.
That's fair.
That's valid. Yeah. It's
You have could have new people coming on next year,
Right.
you have an election coming. And like I said, the uncertainties of funding at all levels in Massachusetts right now, I think it's a high risk. Especially if you have members that want to scrutinize our budget that year.
This is why we're showing.
Right, no, I know, and I'm not
Your process.
criticizing what you do,
No,
this is
no,
a,
It's exactly,
this is a plan, right?
Exactly your
It's just
process.
important to me.
I also think what's, not surprising, but the magnitude of which those items that we are taking into the budget that have been covered by grants. We've been talking about it and we know last year's impact was almost 800,000 and now it's
Still, yeah.
as much as that. So it feels unfortunate that that money, that the increase in our budget is going to those types of expenses versus trying to bring back to our staff.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
capacity skills, potential, all that stuff. So,
absolutely.
But-
Grants are great, but the ones that don't continue year after year after year it's very hard to bring those costs that you want to continue back into the operating budget. It's just very hard.
well, and we should be appreciative for all that they allow us to do, which I totally am. I just now see the numbers and it's just
Yeah.
to see the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so next step is,
What's the next step?
Transportation, I think.
Yeah, transportation, let me just run through this. And this is actually a decrease that we're anticipating or projecting for FY '26. And that was based upon the current experience we're seeing this year. So this year's costs are less, we're able to reduce our budget for FY '26. That's the total cost. Let's look at how we make up that 1.5 million. We have circuit breaker from this year left, FY '25, and then using a portion of the FY '26 circuit breaker that's yet to be filed, 335,000, and that leaves 740,000 that we'll budget for in the operating fund. And that's the same budget we had last year. So no change in the budget, but definitely the total costs are less.
Are the costs less because we weren't able to find placement for a couple students? Or does that not impact us?
No, it's, I think, well, as an example, we had some of our students are residential students, so there's no transportation on that.
I thought we had a couple students waiting on placements and we were.
And we still have a couple,
That we put placeholders in this
we
budget,
did,
but is the difference between this year and next year lower because we didn't find placements? for
no,
those two
no,
students?
this is,
That's not the reason?
right,
But I think just so coming to the game kind of late.
Yeah.
Context. Last year to this year, still last year to this year. I think there was a higher number of students going out of district last year compared to this year.
So kids are graduating, aging out.
No, there are less kids going out of district, requiring district programs
you came.
last year. This year. I can get that number to you, I don't have it right now.
yeah. So that's indicative of the actual costs are less.
Okay.
And
That's
its
good.
reason is less students needing transportation. Okay. Moving right along, this is health insurance, we talked about that. I think we can move on to the next slide. Just to let you know, we have some grants that we're charging health insurance to the grants that have the teachers As part of the grant is paying teacher salary and also their health insurance. So that's, brings down our total cost of our health insurance for our budget, brings down the budget. Moving right along to the next slide. We do have a handout and I can share this with you. Amy, if you can just show this. And this shows the, all the plans we have, the cost per plan, and the number of participants, both family and single. Thanks, Amy. So that's, next slide here, moving right along. Revolving funds, I do have.
I already have that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, revolving funds are self-sustaining, legally restricted for the use. Some examples are your athletics, your preschool, food service. Those were where we receive money from parents and students. We combine that with the offset that against the cost. And by law, Massachusetts law, it allows us to have revolving funds, which are not part of the operating funds, separate.
Go to this document, which passed it, right?
I'm sorry?
Go back to the health insurance document that was
Yeah.
passed out. So I'm seeing 100% of the cost. Are you saying the splits are gone?
No, the splits are, you'll see, in the last two columns to
Yeah.
the right.
But that's without,
You'll
is
see
that
the
with the
hundred,
splits?
yeah, those are the splits.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the splits are the employer cost and employee cost.
But versus the 75 versus 25, or
Yes.
35 versus
Yeah.
15, okay,
And each plan has a different split.
right.
So what I want to show you quickly, it's actually in the, in your folder, okay? But I'll pull it up here.
Want me to stop sharing that?
Yeah, it'd be great, thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Cliff.
Is it one of the handouts you gave us, Ben? It is, let me just give you one moment here.
Give me time to get a cookie.
So I want to share with you the draft budget book, and this is a different format and different levels, some different information we had in the past. I want to thank Cody and Gary for helping put this together. So I'm going to share it, and so you'll see it on your screens and also on the page 3 here. I'm just going to go through a few parts of it, really, you have some of the pieces there, with you already. But I want to, just sort of, so first of all, the table of contents, which I think you have the table of contents on the beginning there, of the handout there. So you'll see these are the different sections of the budget book, okay? And most things that you've seen were probably presented in, what we think is a clearer format. Okay, page you saw from medical dental is one of these pages, it's page 31 of the document. You can see the sort of format there, but then I'll show you, there's a few things I want to show you, okay? First of all, I want to skip down to sort of just there's an enrollment page here, which is on your screen. I think you copied that out for you. We should copy some of the pages for you,
Yep.
okay? So what we have here is the current enrollment in each of our schools, for elementary, it's by classroom. And then we expect it to be for next year. There's not too much science here because we're just, moving forward with numbers we have this year and next grade next year, okay? But you'll see that. And there's a little bit of projection there, both at the K level and a little bit of projection from the year, for O'Malley and Gloucester High, from one year to the next, because we know we've gained in some years, losing some other years. That those changes you see in Amelia and Gloucester High are really based in looking at the, enrollment report we show you every year, basically, okay? Another thing is, and then if you go to the next page, you have by department, and you'll see the actuals for the last, 3 years, FY 22, 23, 24. The FY 25 budget, and it's proposed and changed there. And all those changes correspond to the slide we showed you earlier, so they're all, connected to each other. You go a little bit further down, we get into the different, functional areas. So, district office is on page 10, and then we get into, different, departments. What I really want to get to is, we get to, page, sorry, I'm trying to get to the schools here. On page 15, we get to the actual, by each school. Okay, each, are these object codes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're DESI function codes.
Yep.
You'll see the numbers, then the items proceeding underneath it where it classifies the different types of salaries, services, supplies, other expenses. Those are what we call object codes, and they're all in line with the ordinance of the chart of accounts that DESI provides us and what we have to report on each and every year with our end of year report. I figured it'd be more transparent to show you how we're classifying
I'll
expenses.
also show you the munis detail as well moving forward. But we'll show, this is just a different structure for you guys to look at, more in depth as you go forward, okay?
We didn't get a copy of this though.
Which one?
No, you don't have the full, we didn't print out the whole version.
Oh,
It's in the drive folder.
Oh,
I'm
right.
sorry, I'm very sorry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but so I'm showing you some pages you don't get. I think you have a couple of schools on there. I think, O'Malley,
Bailey and East
it's
Veteran.
veterans is for you to look at.
This is in that drive.
Is in your drive, yeah, yep. Okay, and then some of the other pieces, just in terms of the, go back up in the table of contents. I'm not sure if there's, different information, but it's obviously presented in a cleaner format. And then we have, the circuit breaker, revolving funds are all in there, the entitlement grants and the state and federal grants are in there as well, towards the end. Okay, all laid out clearly. I do want to show you a very significant new, piece, which you have a copy of. That's a summary piece I gave us separately. It's black and white. That, yes, Kathy has it. She'll show it in Bill there too.
Yeah.
This is a draft. It doesn't say draft on it, but it really should. But what I want to show here is. Okay, so this is the summary looking at. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to show long-term budget needs, what we're able to address in FY 26, and then the difference. I didn't really mean to go 7:30, so I'm here for the ribbon. But what we have here, just to give you a sense.
See, you did totally.
No, because we will total it, but again, this is draft,
Not
this
today.
isn't, so to speak, tick and tide yet, okay?
Yeah.
But you'll see from the very beginning here is we start with elementary and we start with special education programs, okay, inclusion program, the district-wide programs, in terms of what we want to build towards, okay? So the new position additional item is for the long term, all the positions we believe we need. And also some others, supplies and even in the equipment, I think, right? We start with special education, that's really, through, and then we get into, interventionists, down there. K-5, the last K-5 ones, you see the group of K-5, okay? Then you see O'Malley adjustment counselor for district program, you see tier 2 intervention at O'Malley, okay? You see, I know O'Malley, the part that's in orange for O'Malley are things we haven't had the discussions and done the work yet to know what are the areas of general education or program we want to do. When I say program, I mean like the general education curriculum, what sort of class offerings we want to use or expand into, okay? And special education, again, have not worked yet to do the work on that, what's a special education inclusion program related services for O'Malley, like that's why it's a TPD, that's why it's in orange, okay, so it needs work on that, okay. But then we get into middle school, programs, special education programs, right? And where we see adding in the years to come, okay? Then we get into high school again, say it's orange for a reason, okay? We haven't done the work yet to know, where are the places we want to go and expand in terms of, the general education program, program improvement, in academics at high school outcomes. And also some work on the programs in special education as well here. Then you see on GHS, we get into the job and transition coach, we talked about that, okay, tonight. Medical assistant teacher and automotive teacher, those are grant funded currently. Those are things we want to come on the operating budget eventually. At some point, we do know we need a multilingual learner or a director of instruction and curriculum, someone who's a little curriculum instruction based, okay, can help our teachers and staff really develop that. Again, that's in the future at some point. We do believe we'd like a K-8 librarian, so a librarian who work across all those schools, okay? Develop that program and support our folks who help out with libraries, okay? Science coordinator here is grant funded. I don't want to go through everything, but I want to give you a sense of the picture, the way we're beginning to look at long-term budgetary needs, basically. Okay. And we have, then we get into IT, various different IT pieces. Okay, this is a lot of pieces and parts, but they're the things we know right now that are sort of ultimately important for creating the school district with the services, support, equipment, and materials supplies that we believe is necessary over time, knowing that we can't build it all at once. Okay, and then towards the bottom here we get into the consolidations and reallocations that will be happening this year. Okay, ultimately this can be a roadmap, which might adjust year to year. Okay, and each year we would, as the green column on the screen here, we are putting in. This is a lot of the parts, the positions and things we talked about tonight and their costs. And then the yellow is not included. If you think about it, it's you take blue, which is long-term, multiple years here, minus the green, what we can do this year, equals the yellow. Okay, so the yellow is the place we still need to get to. So we need to add over time. Again, designed to be a roadmap, designed to be pretty comprehensive, and designed to really give both the school committee, the city, our staff, a sense of, where we need to go in the years to come. Questions as you sort of start to begin to absorb that over time. Questions about the intent here and the purpose or the numbers or anything.
No, my only question, Ben, was on the job coach.
Yes.
Just looking at this, I think it listed it at 25 or something, but we're increasing that position, correct?
By 0.6, yes.
It's right there for it.
I mean, maybe it's something, special ed. So it's going from 0.4 to.
Yeah, so what that's saying is $20,000 in that first column.
Yeah.
To go from 0.4 to 1.0.
Okay.
We are doing that in the middle column, this year by 26.
26.
Yeah, so it matches up basically.
I see.
Another example, you might say, if you go, let's see, if you go to.
That one is like a special ed.
Yeah, if you go to the top,
Yeah.
okay, we know that if you go to West Parish, it's about, 1, 2, 6, 6 rows down.
Yeah.
This is West Parish Special Education Inclusion Program, I'm highlighting it right now on the screen,
Yeah.
okay? We know that we need 3 FTEs to add over the course of time to help build out the inclusion program there, okay? That 3 FTEs equals 3 paraprofessionals, I'm sorry, 2 paraprofessionals, $103,000 at this current. In the FY26 budget, as I told you tonight, we'd be adding 2.
Right.
At $69,000, meaning in the future, we're gonna focus on adding another one to build up as we continue to build out the inclusion program at West Parish.
Yeah.
That making sense?
It does. It just helped me read it a little bit.
Yeah.
With a little bit of clarity.
New approach, you know, lots of information, but just wanna, that's the purpose tonight, is that you're familiar with the approach and understanding how it's structured, basically. Not really designed to, at this point, to navigate or negotiate the individual things, and like I said, this is a draft, it's a work in progress. It's something we wanna, you know, have finalized for this year, have the budget process.
I have a question. Seeing. Yeah, my topic, tier 2 interventionist.
Yes,
So you have 10 FTE proposed for long-term, not next year.
Yep.
And there was another
there's also
tier 2.
tier 2 and for O'Malley as
Ariel
well.
Mealy.
Yep.
So how, I mean, we need 10 FTE for K through 5 alone. Why aren't any of those positions prioritized for this year?
So this is, you know, the challenge with this list is it's ideal. Okay, so it's not something that's going to be done, you know, at this point, a couple of things. Building out special education the way we're working on it now will help support kids who need additional support
Next year.
next year.
Can you elaborate on that? Because that's what I need to hear, because that was gonna be my next question.
So that's
Seems
what,
like we're taking paras out of classrooms and we
Right.
need support for the teachers to remain. So how does that happen?
so that's what, so co-teaching inclusion program and inclusion program with co-teaching and paraprofessional support. As part of a system or structured system is it takes on tier 1, tier 2, and even tier 3. Right, so building that in, and so if you look at this and you say that it's the tier 2 as an independent line on its own, it looks like, oh my God.
Right.
But we're actually building that in, it's part of the tier 2.
For next year? Okay.
Yeah, so that would be part of the rollout for that, yes.
Another piece of that as well is the reading specialists.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll see that we want one in each elementary school. We are able to add two, special education reading teachers, so I should say, special education reading teachers. We'll be adding one at West Parish and one at East Veterans.
And how many are there now?
We don't have that position.
So you're adding one position for 6th grade levels
Yeah, but that also will
for
support.
reading only,
Reading
yeah.
decoding, not
yeah.
comprehension.
No, yeah.
So what that does, it's capacity building. So now, because previously, I mean, or as it's currently constituted, we can't give the full fidelity of the program for a reading decoding book.
Okay.
We're only giving
All right.
5 times 30 minutes
Right.
per week, and it's 5 times 60, 45 to 60 for the full fidelity of the program. Having a reading specialist per building, and that way there's 2 of them, frees up the other teachers to do more of the language comprehension, reading comprehension, the listening comprehension, the executive functioning. So now you have, so that's part of the system that will have in place. So rather than chasing services being all over the place, it's to be very systematic here.
And then you'll, if it, I'm successful, need as much of the interventionist
Right,
as well.
right, that's exactly right, it's fully operational, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So that would be fun.
yeah. Another way to measure this over time is to do pro scores.
I just want to mention one thing. He had sent out to us an advocacy letter
Yes.
to, by a few organizations, and I'd like to bring this to the whole school committee because, in it, it's very clear about where the Act is proportional, they're keeping balances. So I think it becomes us to, from an advocacy perspective, to also probably send a letter from the school committee. The second thing I want to mention is that Senator Tar has agreed to come to our meeting next week, and I'm still waiting to hear back from Representative Ferrante's office. So we can ask him about the budget process at the state level and also explain some of the challenges such as underfunding of circuit breaker transportation and so I just think it would be good for us to just have those conversations earlier and advocate at the state level at this point of the budget.
Great.
Yes.
Just to explain, superintendent had a meeting with the police chief at one of the Brazilian churches in town to work with the families, particularly about some of their concerns about the current immigration
Okay. So that is the agenda. So are we done with the fiscal 26 budget?
Yes, we're done with the budget.
So, but we have other meetings scheduled to go through it more.
Yes,
So before we move on, I just want to say thank you to both of you. I know this is your busy season, Cody and Gary, and it's a good start. I mean, I agree with everything, but we'll have those discussions. going
Yeah.
forward. Having Dr. Jarvis here is extremely helpful to.
And I really like the structure. So
Yeah.
the, in detail, I mean, I've always understood the budget,
Yeah.
but I think this is really helpful
yeah,
advancement to
I think,
just
yeah,
having more information on the things.
I definitely agree.
Right.
There's budget transfers we're gonna talk about.
So, no, we have O'Malley Middle School window replacement update.
It looks like it's shaded out.
Yeah, well, it was amended, so the other night, Ben asked me to, if you could put it on the agenda, but Ben's now gone. So it couldn't have been too important. But he can give us an update at the school committee meeting.
Yeah.
It's support to us if there's something that we can talk about publicly
Yeah.
on that project. So table that and on to budget transfers. So we have one, I believe.
Yeah, we have two transfers. One is over 8,000. It happens to be $10,000. And it involves the food service department. They're decreasing the supply budget and increasing the repair and maintenance budget. They have some repairs on refrigeration. And so I wanted to charge it to the correct account code. We have bought that, and we have I recommend to approve the budget transfers as presented.
So it's
So
one
move for
transfer?
discussion.
Two.
There's two. One's for 8,000, one for
Right.
2,000.
One was for 2,000, so we didn't bring
That
it
was
up.
to cover travel.
I move the recommendation.
Second,
Do we, so this is coming out of supplies and going to repair maintenance?
Yeah.
Not for supplies.
In the revolving fund.
Okay.
Yeah, both transfers are within their own department, within their own fund, just moving money. Right. To their appropriate expense account for what they're trying to do.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Vote carries. Executive session? No.
No.
Then they're again. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, thank you
All our
for.
attendees, we had attendees tonight. Thank you for joining us.